Hi! I've decided to do a little fun game. I haven't come up with a good name for it, but I checked out too many books at the library. Let's see how many of these I actually read before they're due. And if you're a library goer like myself, you might have a similar problem as me, which is that you put a whole bunch of books on hold and you kind of forget about them, and then one day they all become available and you end up with a stack like this, a stack like this. So let's go through them. Let's see what we got. Let's see which ones I actually make it through before they become due and we play this game again. The first one is The Lies of Locke Lamora. So this was one that my reading group that I have, Cliff recommended. It's like a heist, but in a fantasy setting, so like a fantasy heist. Highly recommended, so very interested in this one. Next one is Dazzling. I am almost through. Oh no, I took out my bookmark. Shit. Anyways, I am almost through this one. This came out in December, and it takes place in Nigeria. It is like it's like a contemporary novel, but there is fantasy elements in it, and it's like two girls, both of whom have sort of lost their father. One has died, the other has sort of gone off on a journey, and one little girl after her uncle has died, has taken over the mantle of like a leopard. The leopard is like a fantastical creature that, is about justice, and she's trying to figure out how to deal with that while also missing her father. So it's like, again, literary fiction, but like quite a lot of fantasy elements in it. It's very good. It's kind of slow getting into it, but once you're there, you're like, okay, now I have to know what happens. I think it's also a debut novel. Don't quote me on that. This one I'm very excited about, and I will read it because I already read there's like an excerpt in Gizmodo about it. It's called Womb City, and it is also a very cool cover, but it is a dystopian future, and I think there's also a ghost story in it. It's about a woman who gets in a world where people don't die, they just take on other bodies of other people. She ends up in a body of someone who is a criminal, and so she's like monitored very heavily by her cop husband, while also trying to have a baby, and the baby is being like grown sort of in like a vat, and they could lose it at any time if they don't pay or anything else. And then also a ghost story happens somewhere in there, so I'm extremely excited. I will read this one. I will. That's fine. The next one is Ever There by Nisi Shawl. This came out, I believe, last year. Her follow-up also Kinning came out in January, and I wanted to read that, but I wanted to read this first, and it is a alternative historical novel. If like the Congo got steam power and was able to sort of fight back against King Leopold II, I believe. So I've just started this, just getting into it right now. I have started too many novels at the same time, so I'm gonna wait until I finish Dazzling before I continue with this one. I probably will not have time to read this one as well. It's a little over ambitious, so it'll go back on my holds list, I'm sure. Oh god. All the Sinners Bleed by S.A. Crosby. S.A. Crosby writes like Stephen King-esque sort of thriller books, and I finally got this one because it's been on hold forever, and I really want to read it, and I can't even remember what it's about, honestly. Ooh, it's the large print edition. Oh, that's fun. That'll be fun. But yeah, All the Sinners Bleed is a thriller, and it's about an FBI agent who returns home and is dealing with like bigoted police force, and he runs for sheriff, and thriller ensues. Very excited about this one as well. I have Rogue Protocol by Martha Wells. This is the third in the Murderbot series. I had read the first two. I love them. Very snarky, like robot action happening in this, and like they're all novellas. I think there's like 5 or 6 in them, and I'd recommend them to my father, who started reading them and loved them, and that reminded me that I needed to read the third one. And between all these hefty books, I need a novella to get me through when I'm feeling kind of tired. But yeah, the Murderbot series is awesome. It is a sort of deep sci-fi space situation in the future, a lot of capitalism, and there is like a robot kind of android who the job it is to be like rented out and provide like cover and safety for people going out to like discover new worlds or do something that could be possibly dangerous, and it's the Murderbot's job to protect them. Unbeknownst to everybody, the Murderbot has sort of subverted its safety protocol, and they are pretty much kind of free to do whatever they want because they're no longer controlled by the system, and all they really want to do is like watch their like daytime opera shows and just kind of hang out and chill. Very relatable situation. So yeah, so the Murderbot series, I'm definitely gonna read that. Oh, The Iron Cage by Rashid Taldi. This is recommended by another TikToker whose name I can't remember, and I apologize. You probably know him. He's a much bigger TikToker than I am, but he had recommended this, reading this in tandem with the 100 Years War on Palestine, which I did read and was an awesome book. I feel weird saying I loved it, but it really did teach me so much about what is going on in Palestine right now, and the whole history, as best as you can in something that is a like relatively short book. And there's way more detail there, I'm sure, and this is what this is supposed to cover. This is supposed to cover more of that detail, and more of the like politics and the like statehood portion of that. So I'm excited to get into this one. I will definitely read this one. I also like his writing. So yeah, because I continue to want to understand more about the history of Palestine and continue to push for freedom of Palestinians and to stop the genocide that is going on in Gaza after watching Hind and Hydra. I'm gonna try not to cry. I saw the photo of Hydra, who was a little girl who was killed, and her body was hanging from a wall and her legs were blown off. I accidentally saw that without anything being blurred, and it's really terrible. And so we can't stop. The next one is Yours Truly by Abby Jimenez, I believe. And this was recommended to me by my writing partner, hi Mari, as a great contemporary romance. It is, I actually can't exactly remember what it was about, even though I started reading it. But apparently very good, very funny contemporary romance. I'll figure out what it's about when I read it. Oh, The Atlas 6 by Olivia Blake. This is one that like has just gone around and I keep meaning to read it, and the follow-up came up in January, so it's just like been on my list. And then this one is The Sentient by Natalie Afifi. I'm sorry if I mispronounced that. This is a sci-fi book by a Palestinian writer. Someone else had like a really great list of books that were not just nonfiction, but also like poetry, sci-fi, fantasy by Palestinian writers. I also forgot their names, so I'll try to find that so you can have the list. But this was on it. Really excited to find a sci-fi book by a Palestinian author. I will definitely read this. I have said I will definitely read this to a lot of books, so we'll find out. Stay tuned and find out which ones I actually get to this month. Wish me luck.